this week's Facebook Live. So for those of you that are new here, welcome, and those who are regulars, welcome back. I'm Shae, one of the naturopaths here at the Lucy Rose Clinic. So today is week 4 of our Endometriosis Awareness Month, and what I would like to go into today is what we know about the underlying causes that contribute to endometriosis, specifically the immune system, hormones, and environmental factors. So get your tea today. I'm having lemon myrtle and green tea for all those antioxidants, and a gentle afternoon pick-me-up rather than a coffee. So let's get into it. All right, so first of all, I'd like to talk about our immune system. So do you know that the research suggests the immune system plays a huge part in the development of endometriosis? Yeah, it's pretty wild. So let's break that down. So one popular theory is that endo is actually an autoimmune disease. This means that the immune system, normally our body's primary defense, mistakenly attacks healthy tissue. So in this case, healthy endometrial tissue, like it thinks that it's, or something that shouldn't be there, right? So instead of protecting us, it's actually causing chaos within. And how many of you have heard that theory before? Definitely drop a hands up if you have, or if you're hearing about it for the first time. So let's get a little bit more specific about that, right? Certain immune cells, like macrophages, are linked to creating pesky endometrial lesions. So think of macrophages as the body's cleanup crew, if you like. They're supposed to help, but in this case, or in cases like this, in this theory, they're actually making things worse. Then we also have T cells, which are supposed to help fight off infections, but in women with endo, they sometimes target our own endometrial tissue instead. So, which leads to inflammation. So then tell me if there's anyone out there who has experienced endo-related inflammation. Yeah, tell us about it in the comments. All right, now, hormone imbalance. Our favorite topic here at the Lucy Rose Clinic after the thyroid. Endometriosis is really closely linked to hormonal imbalances, yeah, which makes sense, particularly with estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen encourages the growth of endometrial tissue, which it's supposed to do, and progesterone is kind of like the brakes, keeping everything in check. When there's too much estrogen and not enough progesterone, which is something we see quite often, you guessed it, things can spiral out of control. It's like having a party and more people turned up than RSVP'd and you don't have enough snacks, which is actually one of my biggest nightmares. I always over-cater because I always think the worst thing in having a party would be if you didn't have enough food for everyone. I mean, how dreadful. However, but if you feel or you've felt the effects, or you can relate to the idea of a hormone imbalance, give us a thumbs up if you can relate, right? I think there's many of us out there, especially people who are listening in today, or people who are here with us that can relate to that significantly. So next, I'd like to talk about environmental impacts. Now, we touched on this a little bit last week when we talked about things you can do to help modulate inflammation. But, what we eat and our surroundings can also play a part in, it can also play a role in endo. So research shows diets high in processed foods and sugar can increase the risk of developing endometriosis and can worsen existing cases. So if you're munching on chips and cookies all day, lucky you, it might be time to rethink that snack choice, right? And I think, we know these things are delicious and we should have them in moderation, but that is something that we do see, right? Diets high in processed foods, prepackaged foods with all their hidden sugars and salts and rubbish exacerbate or make worse any kind of inflammatory condition. So specifically to endo in this case, but in anything else, the body's inflammatory response, highly processed foods don't have a great deal of nutritional value, right? But we eat them because they're convenient, we're on the go, we're tired, we're busy, whatever. But they don't really give us anything other than, I suppose, empty calories. And they make inflammation worse, and who wants that? Also, exposure to certain chemicals. So BPA and plastics can really mess with hormones. It's really important whenever you're, particularly if you're purchasing things for your home, food storage, drink storage, anything like that, is to try and avoid plastic where possible. And if it's unavoidable, then it needs to be BPA plastic, and it's usually labeled on the container. The other thing is stress. Stress. I'm laughing hard about that because, we all lead really busy and stressful lives. It can feel overwhelming to acknowledge that you're stressed or that you have high stress or high impact life, but it's your life, right? You love it. You're doing what you need to do to get by. How do you then take the stress away? It's not so much about that. It's about supporting your body's stress response, and supporting so many of the different aspects that regulate our nervous system, and help our body regulate itself, right? Stress hormones are not necessarily a negative thing. They're a negative thing when they're always on, right? We have to remember how to unwind, which is not quite the same thing as learning how to de-stress, but similar, if you like. And something we always like to hear too is, and I'm sure many of our regular listeners, especially the people who listen to this after, would always be keen to hear of any tips or tricks you have, or any changes you've made to diet or lifestyle for better health that have worked for you. Do feel free to share them in the comments. I'm just checking my notes. Sorry, guys, there was a few things I wanted to have. So on top of that, okay, now we talked a little bit about this last week. So in terms of like stress management, right? Other lifestyle factors that can get in the way when we let them slide in our overall health is physical inactivity has been linked to an increased risk or exacerbation of endo, right? And when you combine that with stress, then you really are encouraging your body to sustain an inflammatory position, right? So you're not doing anything to support yourself. Physical activity for stress reduction or for movement doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and do HIIT Pilates 7 days a week, but it means moving your body. It means doing gentle exercise. It means doing weight resistance. It means doing a variety of things to keep moving, because let's face it, apart from rushing from home to work and back again, a lot of us are far more sedentary than we used to be. And physical activity is really such a great thing that you can do to support your body's stress response, or your body's resilience to the things that might be affecting it. And as well to, I just want to, I know we talk about this a lot in diet, but it really is about eating diets that, following a dietary protocol that is really going to support your body's ability to modulate inflammation. So lots of fruits and veggies, lots of fresh food, and really avoiding that unprocessed food, drinking good quality water, trying to limit your exposure to pesticides and herbicides. So particularly with like salad vegetables or berries, if you can, get them organic. And we really do see, a difference in that. When our body has all the phytonutrients it needs to thrive, we feel a lot better within ourselves. Like, it sounds so basic, but when you think about it, I'm sure that there are things that you've done or things that you've noticed when you follow different kinds of eating regimes. If you do snack on crisps and cookies all the time, I bet you don't feel as good as when you've done salads for lunch every day, but everything in moderation. And that, is one of the things that we can definitely help with here too, because it can be so overwhelming to try and navigate all these different things out there that we're supposed to be doing, right? generally, we know that we're supposed to eat fruits and vegetables, but sometimes it can be hard to find a way to introduce them into our daily life. Or we tend to eat the same foods over and over on repeat because it's easy, right? We're all busy. I mean, put a hand up if you meal prep for the week on a Sunday, or if you tend to eat the same things for lunch every day because it's easy. Well, making changes can be easy too, as long as you have someone to support you doing it, or you have a way to navigate through all the information out there until you find something that works for you. But we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and really too, while we've over the last few weeks we've explored endometriosis in a significant amount of detail. Ultimately, it is essential to consult with a healthcare professional for personalised advice. And if you found this chat helpful, which I hope you did, don't forget to hit the like button. Share it with your friends. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at the Lucy Rose Clinic, you're interested in finding out about how we can help you, please do book a complimentary consultation. You can do that through the website, lucyroseclinic.com.au, and find out a little bit more about what we do and how we can support you. And until next time, everyone, stay safe, make good choices, get plenty of sleep, and you're lovely.